and he advised me that his brother was supposed to send me an email, but he didn't. And you will read, when you read into my course outline, how I like to get information and how to get to me to let me know if you are not attending. And because what I will try to do is make sure that any assignments are then sent out to whoever's missing so that they get their, don't miss any homework assignments. So I try to be as attentive as humanly possible on that one. And tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Ed Pulsifer, who's, how many years have you been in the hospitality industry now?
30, this month, 30.
He was 2 at the time he started.
All in New Mexico.
All in New Mexico, right? And how many years down in Albuquerque?
26.
And you were at the Sheraton downtown, but it's not that.
Well, I started with, when I was going to school, at UNM I worked banquets, I waited tables, things like that, in the early 80s. And then I started with Hilton. I kind of stumbled upon the industry, because it wasn't back then, it wasn't real popular, the hospitality industry, and really there were not many programs offered for it. So my brother-in-law was in the business at the Hilton in Albuquerque, which is now the Crown Plaza.
Right.
So I started entry-level sales, prospecting, telemarketing, things like that. And then I went to work for Sheraton in Albuquerque for 13 years. Then I worked at the Albuquerque Convention and Visitors Bureau, which I'll talk a little bit about CDBs, for 5 years as VP of Convention Sales, marketing the entire destination. Then I worked for Heritage Hotels and Resorts for 8 years. They have 4 hotels now in Santa Fe, 2 in Albuquerque, 1 in Las Cruces, 1 in Taos, as VP of Sales and Marketing. And then now I'm at Fonda. I've been at Fonda for 3.5 years, and it's the best place I've ever worked. Best place I've ever worked. I absolutely love it. It's an incredible place. But I've never had it, because I'm from Albuquerque. I was born in Albuquerque, but I love New Mexico, and I've never had a desire to go anywhere else. This is such an incredible industry to be in New Mexico.
So we pretty well got you introduced.
Oh yeah. So this is.
I just did a little interview.
No, and this is really informal. So, and I've done a lot of talking to classes, high school, college over the years. I still chair the advisory committee for Central New Mexico, CNM's Hospitality and Tourism and Culinary Arts program, which they've got a great program, and I'm so glad to see that we have one now in Santa Fe. So ask questions along the way. I'm just going to talk about the industry, about different opportunities, different departments in the industry, and then, like I said, just questions along the way. And I think Catherine was saying, you all work in hotels?
Not Albuquerque.
Who works in a hotel now? All right, where do you work?
The Alameda.
Oh, great place. Christina's the GM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonderful hotel. And you?
The same place.
Same place, yeah. It's a beautiful place. Who else?
We're at
We're the same place in Alameda.
Oh, you all are? Okay, and you're at the end of Alameda?
I thought that you meant like who works in a hotel.
No. So you two are at the end of the Alameda?
Mm-hmm.
In
Hotel Santa Fe.
Okay, yep, I know Corey. JD Day's a good friend of mine. Another great hotel. Because there's some hotels that are operationally kind of a mess. And some of you may have been to some of those hotels. Did you say you work in a hotel? No? No? Eddie? No?
What hotel?
And then,
The Lodge at Santa Fe.
okay, I worked for that company for 8 years, so I know very well. I know, in fact, Ruben's there now.
Yeah.
And Ruben's good hire. Valerie's catering.
Yeah, that
Yeah, and it's important. It's to be in this industry. You need to know all of your peers out there. It really is, because it's a tight community. We work together. We refer business back and forth to each other. So that's the company she works for, Heritage Hotels and Resorts. It's growing like crazy. It's the largest hotel ownership group in the state. Literally is, and they have some wonderful properties. They're growing. Getting ready to get a property in Taos, I heard. So, but I'm not going to say anything. Anyway, so I've always been on the sales and marketing side of hotels, but kind of talk about different opportunities. I mean, there's all types of different levels of hotels. You've got kind of your budget properties, which are usually along highways. Motel 6s, Holiday Inn Expresses, things like that. People just need a room. They want to stop. They don't need anything fancy. Shower, get going the next day. And then you have kind of mid-level properties, which could be like Hilton Garden Inns, Drury's, Best Westerns. They're more mid-level. They do have some amenities, some food and beverage, things like that. And then you have upscale, your typical flag properties, Sheratons, Hiltons, Hyatts, Marriotts. Then you have luxury, which would be like Four Seasons, Ritz-Carltons, and then a lot of independents too. So look at the difference between Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Very different markets. Albuquerque, they have about 20,000 hotel rooms in that market, of which about 16,000 are limited service, just dominant. If you drive around, there's all types of Holiday Inn Expresses and Drury's and Hilton Gardens and Hamptons and Homewoods. I mean, that market's dominated by limited service and then dominated by flagged properties. Of course, a flagged property could be a Hyatt, a Marriott, a Hilton, a Best Western. Of course, a lot of flags have a lot of different types of properties that fall beneath them. Like Marriott will have, Renaissance, and then Marriott, JQ, and then they have courtyards, and all different types of level for different types of travelers, and then thousands of hotels. So Albuquerque, they kind of appeal to more budget-conscious traveler or groups, conventions and things like that, people that want to pay maybe $100 or sometimes less. And it's dominated by flagged properties. Now, a flagged property could be managed by a corporation like Marriott or Hyatt or Hilton, or it could be franchised, where you're paying a franchise fee, and they can be pretty hefty. Like with Hilton, it can be upwards of 10% of your total revenue when you look at reservation fees, marketing fees, and other types of fees that they require. Of course, you have to follow all of their policies and guidelines. And if you go in a Marriott in Albuquerque and they blindfold you and put you at a Marriott in Cleveland, it's all the same. But that's the type of traveler they appeal to. It's the same carpeting, it's the same furnishings. A lot of times it's the same food and beverage menu. But they're appealing to that customer that, one, likes points, Hilton Honors points and different types of reward points because they travel so much and they just like that consistency. And then you have a market. So Albuquerque is kind of like your typical, second tier type, larger city. Santa Fe is completely different, very different. Well, one, it's a very authentic cultural destination. I mean, it's hundreds of years, thousands of years, really, in the making, and it's dominated by independent hotels. On the Alameda, Hotel Santa Fe, Lodge, La Fonda, in Loreto, La Posada. Oh no, now La Posada is part of Starwood, so it is basically now a franchise hotel. So independent hotels are not part of a flag. Some of the things I just spoke about. So, as an independent hotel, you are not part of a group, and you may be part of a management group or an ownership group, but you don't have all of these strict guidelines and regulations that flag properties require. They get very strict on the type of bed and the type of furnishings and the colors, and when you renovate certain things that you have to stay within, brand standards, even from your stationery and your business cards and your brochures. They have very strict policies and guidelines so that it's the same no matter where you're going. That's that consistency. But with an independent, you don't have anybody telling you that. You don't have anybody saying you do this or this. And that can be good or it can be bad, because you've got to do all of those things yourself. You don't have a big reservation system like a Marriott, where they have these central res systems that people call into, 1-800-MARRIOTT, or you go to their website and it's, Marriott's listed all over the world. You got to do it yourself. So there's different types of organizations out there that you join to get global distribution recognition, which is GDS system. How does the world of travel agents see you? There's different, you don't have somebody saying, okay, here, now you're part of this. You don't have reservation centers. There's a lot of different things that you have to do on your own. But it's very rewarding because when you do create something like all of these hotels that we have here, people get a very unique, authentic cultural experience. You know, when they come, especially when they come to a destination like Santa Fe, because they come and it's not some Disney set that they can see and feel and touch and go to places like Bandelier or go to Pecos Monument and climb up Kivas or go to these wonderful museums, walk around into buildings that are, 300 and 400 years old. And you just can't, you can't get that in a lot of places. And as a destination that's only maybe 75,000 people, we're continuously ranked top 5 to 10 in many, many different categories around the world through readers voting in polling like in Condé Nast and Travel and Leisure magazines, USA Today, New York Times. I mean, we're consistently rated very, very high. So looking at, let's talk about different departments in the hotel. Yes?
Before we get into departments, I'm just wondering how the Airbnb has exploded and how is that affecting traditional bookings and rooms.
Okay.
And, I know here in Santa Fe it's a big hot topic.
It is a hot
topic. And it's like, even where I live out in El Dorado, it's kind of like, but I mean, we're way over the quota. There's they have these laws, but it's like way over that.
There's probably 12 to 1,500 units in Santa Fe. What Airbnb is let's say you own a home, a second home, something that you want to rent out.
You got an RV on your property. People can stay in the RV on your house.
Or
a tree house
RV
or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
You want to try to make some money by travelers that are coming in. So there's this kind of organization that now will represent individuals who want to have people come and stay at their property, and it's Airbnb. And then there's also what's the other one? There's another one too.
Air2BNB.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know if that's one of the same. But.
Now, here's the problem. The lodger's tax statute. So when someone stays at a hotel, they pay lodger's tax. The state mandates that you can only charge no more than 5% lodger's tax, and then 50% of that has to be used to market your destination, to advertise and market. Now there's our tax here is almost 16% in Santa Fe because you have the 5% lodger's tax, you have the 8 point whatever gross receipts tax, you have a convention center fee, and I think that's it. But it comes to almost 16% of what they're spending. Yeah, so if they spend $100,
that's $16.
they're going to spend $16 just on tax. Now imagine some of the hotels, when it's this time of year, they're paying $300. That's not uncommon at all at any of these hotels, especially an Indian market. Our average rate this last weekend at Fonda was $345 for the week. Yeah, that was our average daily rate. And we work on occupancy and average daily rate. So the lodger's tax statute also states that 3 rooms or less are not mandated to pay lodger's tax. But a lot of these units, or people that have homes, they have more than 3, they're not paying any taxes, they're not paying any lodger's tax. So it's an unfair playing field for those of us that do. What it does also now is it takes people that would have stayed on the Alameda or Hotel Santa Fe or Lodge or possibly La Fonda, because they're going to go stay at these homes or private properties, and now they're not staying at hotels. So, like for instance, last month in July, the market, I know my competitive set market, which is most of all these hotels in here, was down almost 11% in what's called RevPAR. That's revenue per available room. It's kind of a combination of occupancy and your average rate. It's this balance. Down almost 11% in July, which was huge. So I was talking to, met with Randy Randall from the Tourism Santa Fe, which used to be the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And, he's a big advocate on it. This needs to be addressed from the legislative issue, Because now all of a sudden, if you've got people that aren't staying at our hotels and they're not paying the taxes, then it decreases the collection of lodger's tax, which then decreases the amount of money that the Convention and Visitors Bureau or the Destination Marketing Organization has to promote this destination to bring more tourists. So, in fact, I chair the board for the New Mexico Hospitality Association, which was previously the Tourism Association of New Mexico and the New Mexico Lodgers Association. We merged in January. We're kind of the unified voice for our industry throughout the state, and we do get involved with legislative issues. This is a big hot topic, as he said, that we will be discussing during the next legislative session. But it's a big topic.
All right, so if Fonda was down 11%, you can.
We were up 5% though.
Oh, okay, so the 11% was, okay.
It was my competitive set.
Oh, okay, I see, okay.
Off of a STAR report.
Okay.
And we all use STAR reports, which compare us. It's something we subscribe to. There's all types of different things out there.
Yeah.
Marketing reports for our industry to look at what's going on in our market, how do we compete against a competitive set that we select in a market, who do we, in other words, like who do I feel I compete against the most from a leisure standpoint and a group and convention standpoint, because we've got a mix of those. Some of us do much more group like El Dorado and La Fonda because we have a lot of space, where, you know, the Alameda has just a small, I mean, I don't even know if you have any space or if you can even do any groups. So they're probably, 95% leisure versus 5% group. El Dorado's probably 50% leisure, 50% group. We're 65% leisure, 35% group. Everybody has a different mix of leisure business and group business. And most of this market is heavily dominated by leisure, people coming in for fun and vacation. There's not a lot of corporations here. There's not a lot of companies, as you were talking before about. So we're dominated by leisure, but then also groups and conventions and things like that. So, and I hope that if I at least addressed your question a little bit.
No, it's just kind of like what it's done.
It is a hot topic.
What it's done to your market, and you've said that down 11%.
Yeah, you can't directly say that it's because of Airbnb, but it probably is having an impact because, so if you took, let's say 1,500 units, whether it's a bedroom or a home or whatever, that somebody that's part of this Airbnb, there's only 5,000 rooms in this total market in Santa Fe. That's like 30% of the inventory of the total market all of a sudden in that segment, in that Airbnb segment. That's a huge increase. It's just like when Drury came in downtown, that added about 10% of inventory or supply to the downtown market. Now, if there's not an increase in demand, then they're going to take market share from other hotels. That's the only way they have to, which they have done some, but they're still, because they're about a year old, they're still, I think, somewhat struggling. I don't even know if they might be running 50% occupancy. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the different departments in hotels, because there's a great thing about our industry. One, it's usually the top, I'm going to say 1 or 2 industries, private industries in any city, state, country. Tourism drives so much from the private sector. So if this is an industry that you're interested in, want to stay in, you can go anywhere in the world. Literally, there will always be hospitality somewhere to work. I mean, everywhere. So, you've got different areas. You've got, obviously, your operations, which could be front desk, for those of you that are front desk, reservations, bellman, concierge, anybody that's kind of in that front line type of operational area. I think reservations, I think I mentioned that, people that are on the phone taking reservations. Then you have housekeeping. It's a critical part to the cleanliness of a hotel. That is probably always one of the biggest customer service expectations, or where hotels fail, is on the housekeeping area. The cleanliness of the rooms, the cleanliness of the public spaces, the cleanliness of the meeting rooms, everything. I mean, that is so critically important. And of course, in these different areas, you've got your directors, you've got managers, you've got line staff, so there's all types of different opportunities. Food and beverage, for those hotels that have a food and beverage component, which obviously all the ones in here do. You've got restaurant outlets, you've got bar outlets, you've got banquets and catering, you got room service. So food and beverage is another big part of, especially here in Santa Fe, because it's really a food town. There's some great restaurants here, and there's some great hotel restaurants here too that you don't normally get in other cities when you go. I mean, if you go to Albuquerque, you're not going to most likely go to the Hilton or the Marriott's restaurant for dinner. You might, but you're going to go find a freestanding restaurant that you know is local or an experience that you're going to get. But here, I think it's a little different. I think people do, because there are some great restaurants, because we're all independent that we have. So people do, I think hotel restaurants do well here. So you've got, once again, you've got directors, you've got managers of all these outlets, you've got assistant managers, and then all of the different staff. So there's always opportunities in all these different areas. Engineering, it's like a big giant house. You've got heating, electrical, air conditioning, plumbing, painting, grounds maintenance. I mean, these are some major big assets that we all represent that have to be maintained, preventative maintenance programs, and that is a critical part of all of our hotels as well, is the engineering and maintenance department to keep the hotel, to just top notch and protect the asset for the owner. And once again, there's directors and managers and different levels there. Revenue management. That is one of the most critical areas in a hotel now. Going back to let's say 1995, there was basically 3 ways to make a reservation at a hotel. You called the hotel directly, or you called 1-800-MARRIOTT or Hilton to their central res, or you would go to an old school travel agency that you don't really see anymore, like the Aspens or Fosters or the Carlsons. Yeah, these were travel agencies where you would go in different neighborhoods or strip malls and book trips and other things. They would get paid a 10% commission on whatever they did. But that was really it. I mean, that was the only way to make reservations at a hotel.
Or you just showed up.
Or you just walk-ins, yes.
Right.
Or walk-ins where people just walk in.
Right, but now you don't want to ever do that because you got the rack rate thing, so you don't want to do that.
Some hotels will get much more walk-in traffic, especially if they're off an interstate, versus the downtown properties where most of us are. You would probably get more walk-ins just because of where you're at up there at the lodge, yeah. Some of us at the downtown, it's just people taking a chance, coming in and going into the front desk and saying, yeah, I'd like a room, what's your rate for tonight? So
you quote them the rack rate.
Well, it depends. No, it depends.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at, your occupancy, where you're at. You certainly have budget levels that you want to try to maintain within. Do you want the room to sit empty or not? What's going on in the market? Is there any compression? Are you the only one that has rooms and everybody else is full? There's a lot of different things that you look at. Then in 96-ish, 97, Priceline came into the market. It was something new. Of course, the internet was brand new then. And it was a way that people would go and hotels would submit inventory and people would go and bid on rooms. Now, Priceline is what's called an opaque site. And what it is people just throw a bid on there and say, I want to pay $50 for a room. I don't care where it is. They really don't care what type of property they're staying at. It's a blind bid. And then if it's accepted, then okay, you're staying over at this property at this rate. So Priceline came on and started becoming successful. And then more and more what's called OTAs, online travel agencies, started coming on. Now there's hundreds of them. When you look, every time you turn on the TV, Hotwire, Expedia, Travelocity, TripAdvisor. There's literally hundreds of these different OTAs that hotels can participate in. Now you can't participate in all of them, and you got to be very careful on how much inventory you give them, because you can sell your soul to the devil to them because their commission rates are so high. So let's say someone goes on to, I'm going to use Expedia because they're the big OTA in this market. They produce more than anybody else. Expedia does in Santa Fe. if you go on to Expedia and you book a hotel room for, let's say, $200 somewhere, that hotel pays 25%, sometimes to 30% commission on the total room revenue that's generated. So let's say you spent $500 for your stay at a hotel, that Expedia is going to get, what, $125? Something around there. Just commission for that. So you have to be real careful about how you participate with these OTs. Now they're necessary. They're a necessary evil because they dominate the market. They have millions of dollars of marketing dollars, and they're out there, and people have gotten used to just saying, seeing all the TV ads, the radio ads, the now Travagos or kayaks. They search multiple booking engines out there. So now you got 100 different ways that people can make reservations. So what the revenue manager does is they analyze a lot of data. It's very analytical. And they're looking at different reports and different systems that we have, and controlling inventory and controlling rates. So we decide, okay, we're going to partner with maybe Booking.com and Expedia, maybe these 3 OTAs. But you have to give them inventory or take away inventory. So let's say you got 5 rooms loaded into Expedia and maybe one other. Then you've got your website booking channel. You've got people calling into the hotel. You've got the GDS system, the global distribution system. There's just a lot of channels out there. So the revenue manager is constantly monitoring these channels. They're looking at rates at other hotels from software systems that we have that will analyze, look at a certain competitive set. Okay, let's see. Loretto, La Posada, Hotel Santa Fe, El Dorado. Here's where these hotels are. I can look 3 months out, day by day, where their published rates are. Not group rates or other things, just published rates that are open to anybody that can go on and book. So you're looking and analyzing all this data. You're looking at your occupancies. You're adjusting rates. You're adding inventory. You're taking away inventory. That's what they do. And you have to make sure you have what's called rate parity, which means I can't have a 179 rate on Expedia and a 149 rate on my website, because what happens is now that OTA Expedia monitors all the hotels that have inventory, and they know. And if they see that you have lower rates out there than on their channel, they'll blackball you, or they'll put you at the bottom of the list, where you want to be at the top when people are searching on Expedia or whatever channel they're searching on. You don't want to be way at the bottom. So you have to make sure that you have what's called rate parity. You have the same rates no matter where they're at. Now, you obviously want people to either call your hotel directly or go to your website, because those are the 2 most cost-effective and inexpensive ways to book a reservation.
Question. So let's say, for Expedia, I'm not too familiar with, but I know Priceline, I know Hotwire, because as soon as you click it, you're billed.
You're done, yes.
And so there's others I'm not really sure about, but I know.
Expedia, you pay them and then they pay us.
Yeah, but like Priceline or Hotwire, like boom, and so you're dedicating rooms, inventory, let's say. Now, how is that determined? Is it just whatever the random ones are? Because I kind of waver between yes, that's the case, or versus the Priceline, Hotwire, when you're paying that much commission, that the guest that's booking the room maybe gets a room that maybe it's overlooking the rooftop vent, and maybe not the most desirable rooms, because is that true? Yes, no, kind of.
I'm going to say somewhat. Somewhat, because now when you book a room, it's the same inventory type. Like for us, we have traditional rooms, deluxe, 1-bedroom suites, terrace, and you all have different room types, and you have to put those same types in these channels, which people are booking. But next
to the elevator, next to the traffic, this, and I just. It's like
especially on the
experience.
Like we don't participate with Priceline, because not on the opaque site where it's a blind bid where someone doesn't care where they're staying. We just don't, because one, they're not gonna pay our rates, in a lot of hotels, I don't, probably Alameda, I'm sure doesn't either. Just because it's just somebody looking just for a budget deal.
Sure.
No matter what. But somewhat, sometimes, yeah, if I'm looking, if my front desk is looking for the day, who's coming in and they see a repeat, yeah, they're gonna categorize, okay, here's an Expedia room. It's probably not gonna get pushed to the same level as some of the other
Sure.
clients that we have.
Right.
It is. But then we try to educate people and get them their information, get their email. We try to capture all that when they're coming in so that now we can market to them to come directly to us. And there's certain ways we do it, certain packages and ways we get around to offer a better deal than the OTAs. But it's you got to get their date because when Expedia sends a reservation, there's no email address. They're not going to give us that. They keep all that information. But so when someone makes a reservation on our website, and it's probably about the same for most of the hotels, it's probably about $7 for the transaction,
Right.
for the total stay. So imagine paying $7 for someone to make a reservation versus $100 commission, or to call the hotel directly. Those are the two most cost-effective ways, and we constantly do that. We constantly try to build those relationships to have people come to the hotel directly. But yet the OTAs are a necessary evil. You have to participate, but you can't just open all your inventory and say, here's 100 rooms, because the commission will kill you.
Right.
It'll just kill you. So that's what the revenue manager does. Constantly evaluating channels and yielding and trying to capture the most revenue that they can. And then finally, from my passion and my department, sales, catering, convention services. And so what we do, and that's Catherine's background too, is I think sales, catering, food and beverage, is so you've got different people that do different things. And obviously some hotels have, very minimum staff or none because they're not doing any groups. They're not doing any catering because they don't have meeting space and event space. Or some will do a lot like we do. I think there's 9 of us in my department. So you have sales managers that their job is to book conventions or groups. And a group is really categorized as anything that's 10 sleeping rooms or more on peak night. So if you had 10 rooms for 3 nights, that's 30 room nights, but 10 on the peak night. And you're either broken up. Hotels do it different. Some do it market specific, and there's basically 5 markets. You have associations. There's a lot of associations out there. Most of them are in the Virginia, Maryland, D.C. area, Chicago, New York, and really what an association does is it's a membership organization to help support that membership group by lobbying for different things in Washington, D.C. I had a site tour this morning for the National Onion Association. There's an association for everything out there, literally. It's for growers, it's for vendors and things like that. Looking at a convention in November of 2017. We're booking out all the time. 17, 18, even had one group we're working on for 2019. So you could have associations, corporations. We don't do a lot of corporate business here because there's just not a lot of corporations here. That's more our smallest segment. But we do some incentive groups. In fact, we've had quite a few here lately. Insurance, financial, food, different things like that. But not pharmaceutical. We don't do much pharmaceutical. We never have.
That's fine though, it's because of the transportation.
Yeah,
Farm
or
is really
typical
good.
golf, spa, things like that. Then you have government groups. Government government drives New Mexico by far, especially because of Sandia, Los Alamos, White Sands, Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture, Bureau of Indian Affairs, all these different government organizations. Now that's good. We rely heavily. I think we're number 1 on government.
Right, number 1 and number 2 is Louisiana.
Yeah, for government relying on we rely on the government for our infrastructure. But the tough thing is the per diem is low. So if you want to do government business, in Santa Fe, the per diem is $94. It's going up to $99 in October.
Oh,
$94.
It was 99
It's
when I
tough.
started.
So you got to be real careful when you're looking at taking a government group because the rate is just low. And their food and beverage per diem is low too. But it's a lot of good business and you put it on certain patterns, certain times a year you need that base. Tour and travel, motor coaches. Downtown hotels are tough. We don't do, Lodge is a good hotel for motor coach because they've got parking, access, buses can get in and out of there. But that's when you see a big bus with a bunch of people on it, those are motor coach groups. But a lot of them come through New Mexico. And then a market that's called SMERF, which stands for social, military, educational, religious, and fraternal. It's just a category that's always been since we've been in the industry. But it's a big category. Our two top markets out of those 5 in New Mexico are going to be Association and SMERF. They're really the 2 top categories. So you, as a sales manager, you can have either a specific market or markets or be geographic. So, like for instance at Fonda, we're geographic. We've got the country split up in different areas, and one person has this part of the country, another has this part of the country, and they handle all markets within those geographic regions, trying to book convention groups. And we do that through going to trade shows, working with the Convention and Visitors Bureaus, doing familiarization trips where we bring in groups of meeting planners for 2-3 days and let them see, touch, and feel what a great place this is, especially New Mexico because there's such a big misconception about New Mexico. People think it's a flat, hot desert. There's you know, we don't speak English. Do I need a passport? Do I exchange money?
What currency?
No, literally, this still happens all the time. I mean, it's like,
It's amazing how
it's amazing.
undereducated a lot of the states. I was just recently in Colorado, and the hotel I was staying at is Sheridan. They refused to serve me any sort of alcohol because my ID was a New Mexico issued ID, and they needed
Are
a
you
passport.
serious?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
because of
In Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado.
It's right above us.
Denver, Colorado. So I spoke with the AGM about the situation, and his answer to me was stuff like that happens on a daily basis. And I'm like,
So what did they do? How did they rectify it?
They did.
They didn't?
Serious?
Did
So
not
you couldn't
rectify
get
it.
a drink
I couldn't get a drink.
without a passport?
I called in for room service. The bartender refused to deliver any room service up to me. I wrote a pretty nice
Oh, I'd love
What
to
was
see
your
that
first name
later.
again?
Christopher
Christopher, you know what you need to do? What hotel are you at?
Hotel Santa Fe.
Okay. You need to write a letter to New Mexico Magazine. I don't know if any of you have gone to the back. Every month in New Mexico Magazine, which is the state Department of Tourism's official magazine, there's an article called One of Our 50 is Missing. And it's stories just like that, a whole page of what people go through, not with other places, not realizing that we're a state. You really should. I'd send it in.
I worked with Corey on writing a letter to
Good.
corporate for Sheridan. But then again, we've yet to hear back.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
insulting.
You know,
That's
so
just
it was
The hotel.
Oh yeah, we sent one on the main website, and we also sent one to some director of operations for the
Yeah.
Southwest.
Starwood, which is the
Yes.
big mama of all of those.
That's just
Yeah.
insulting.
Yeah.
So as sales managers and then they're on the phone, they're prospecting databases that we have, they're trying to bring conventions and groups. We could be competing against many other cities, which happens a lot. They're looking at numerous cities, or now maybe they did decide on Santa Fe and now they're looking at, I'm competing against Hotel Santa Fe or El Dorado, Loretto, and I gotta try, what can I do, or as a sales manager, to get that person to book my hotel? And it's all relationship. It's no different than someone coming to the front desk, the bellman, the restaurant, anywhere. It's all relationship. Selling is what it is. So that's what sales managers do. They book convention groups. Now, and Janie's she's a good lady. She does a great job over there. Then, after something books definite from a sales manager, it goes to a convention services manager, a CSM. What a convention services manager does is they, after it's gone definite, let's say Christopher just booked a group with me. I'm going to call him after, say, Christopher, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Ed. I'm with Fonda. I'm going to be your convention services manager. So I'm the point of contact from now until his group is gone from the hotel. I'm working with him on his agenda. I'm working with him on all of his meeting room setups, his food and beverage, his VIPs, his audio visual, anything to coming up. And then I communicate through the entire hotel, through banquet event orders and other things, group resumes, so that everybody knows what they have to do in the hotel, from setups, banquet, catering, food, cooking, VIPs, amenities, all of that stuff. I got to communicate as a convention service manager to make sure that we exceed their expectations. Then you have catering managers. What a catering manager does is they book more all of the local stuff, anything that does not have sleeping rooms attached. But there's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of big nonprofit galas. We just had IA and SWIA big events during India Market last week at La Fonda. It could be a meeting. Someone's got, I got a meeting from 8 to 5 for 25 people, and I need continental breakfast, lunch. But that's what a catering manager does. They're booking all the local stuff. And then we also have a wedding specialist, because we do a lot of weddings at La Fonda. All she does is just weddings. That's her main focus. That's a tough market. It's really tough. It's high burnout. Usually, like Hotel Albuquerque, that's another one of her properties. Incredible, beautiful chapel. They do a lot. I mean, it's a great wedding venue. They can do 2 or 3 at a time. But you last maybe 2-3 years, and it's just like dealing with these brides and their moms, and it's very stressful. Our wedding specialist has been there 10 years. She loves it. She's older, but it's tough. So some hotels will have a wedding specialist, not all. Then you have administrative support. So, we have a sales admin that just supports the salespeople. It does a lot of the administrative stuff so they can keep selling. And then we have a catering convention services admin to help the catering and convention services department with a lot of it. It's critical. Those are a great way to get your foot in the door if you're interested in sales, catering, convention services, is from an administrative standpoint, because we've taken people that have just and moved them up and promoted from within. But as an admin, you learn so much about, because you're working with different people, about what they all do. That is probably one of the best ways to move up if you're interested in. And I will say that in hotels, sales, catering, convention, that department's usually the higher paid department in most hotels, because we're bringing in so much revenue. It's just, I think, the nature of the industry. Then, let's see, sales, catering, convention services. So, I also created a few years ago an executive meetings manager position. And all they do is handle small groups, but they're a one-stop shop. So we define that as anything that's 15 rooms on peak or less, or catering groups of 25 or less. And it is been such a success for us. Here's the thing, as a salesperson, let's say you're going through and you got leads, you got your goals that you're trying to meet. Oh, and here's a lead, maybe it came from the CBB. There's different platforms that we get leads from as well. And you're looking, oh man, this is 500 room nights, food and beverage, this group's $100,000, literally. I'm not exaggerating. And then you got another one over here, it's 15 rooms for 2 nights, and it's maybe $5,000. That's going to go on the bottom of the list. Well, a lot of hotels won't even call that, or salespeople take 2-3 days to get back to it. That one market alone, because so many hotels ignore it or don't pay enough attention to it, that's been $1 million for us. My department's about $6 million in revenue for the hotel. But she has, for wedding blocks, small meetings, things like that, she's producing $1 million, which is huge for small groups. So that is another. That position, she was in reservations for 10 years, came up to sales as an admin for 2 years. Then I created that position. Thanks. No. Created that position. And I told her a few years ago, I said, I promise you, if you just let me mentor you and we work on this, you'll double your salary in less than 2 years. And she did. Literally. More than doubled her salary in less than 2 years. Now she went from working in reservations, making, whatever minimum, $12 an hour. I think we paid $12, an hour, which is good. Our minimum wage is very high here. To now, she's making well over $50,000 a year, and that's in less than 2 years. I mean, that's a big increase, big.
And that's commission, not just salary. And you've got to.
It is. There's incentives, but her salaries, her base salary is high. It's like 48.
As
It
well.
is. But we have incentives too. So in sales, we have sales incentives based on meeting or exceeding your productivity goals, which is what salespeople are driven on. But the nice thing about our industry, on the sales catering side, the base salary is high. It's not like real estate or insurance where you're getting paid minimal and you rely 75% on commission. It's not like that in our industry. So the sales, catering, convention services department is, what department are you at? What do you work at?
Reservations.
Reservations, okay. And of course, reservations too. They sell. They have to sell too. It's just a shorter sales process. She's got someone on the phone. She's got to do whatever she can to try to get that business. You know, it may be $300 in revenue, but if she does that 100 times a day, now all of a sudden, you know, she is a salesperson as well. It's just a different type of relationship. It's just a one-on-one on the phone, but she's still having to sell and build that relationship very quickly because that person may be calling around, maybe, you know, things like that. I know I'm kind of.
You're fine, we go till 6:15, you're fine.
Because
You want some time for Q&A?
Yeah, no, and I'm just, because I'm kind of, I bring notes, but I don't know, sometimes I usually don't even use them. So, there's a couple of things. I mean, if those of you that are in, Christopher, where are you at?
Front desk.
Front desk. So, I mean, I can look at someone like Christopher and I can say, I can just see, I can see that he would be someone that would be good in sales. I can just tell. And at the front desk, it's the same thing. They're that first point of contact. If you can survive the front desk at a hotel, busy hotels, you can survive anything. Because they get beat to hell. They do. Everybody comes, they're complaining and bitching, they go to the front desk.
First impression in, last impression out.
It is, and it's critical because he's got to build that relationship. Sometimes he's got to turn a negative situation around. It's one of the most critical roles in our industry. In fact, we just took a front desk associate, and now we had a sales admin leave. She applied, and we were able to promote her from within. She was just thrilled, but it's once again, she knows where she wants to go. But if there's another area or somewhere in the hotel that you're really interested, you have to let people know. You got to let the director of that department know. You know, which people, I have had that in the past. Hey, you know, I'm really interested in the future in sales or in catering or in conventions or whatever department, or maybe it's engineering or whatever. But you have to let people know. How long have you been in Hotel Santa Fe?
I've been there 6 years.
6
I
years.
started off as a security guard working 3 nights a week.
Okay.
And now I'm the.
Do they do their own or they
front office
contract?
manager. No, they do their own.
Okay.
I'm
Now you're front office manager?
front office manager.
Do you want to stay in operations, or do you look at something else?
You
I'm
know,
just curious.
I'm a people person.
Right.
I prefer to talk to people. I love dealing with problems. I have a special needs child, which brings my I'd say irritation level down to a minimum. So I'm able to deal with all sorts of different problems and be able
That's
to
awesome.
problem solve.
Yeah.
But I've also worked housekeeping. I've done engineering. I've done banquets. I've
Which is
washed
good.
dishes,
Cross training is
reservations, sales. I'm
Yeah.
pretty well rounded at that property.
Yeah. That's a great property. I know Paul Margetson very well. He's a good man.
He's my business father.
Yeah,
That's,
he is. I'm sure you learned a lot.
Yeah, and
From
from him and Corey.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah,
two
no,
are-
it's a great. I have a lot of respect for your hotel and your leadership group. Some hotels, I got to tell you, I don't. Some are a mess out there.
Mhm.
Yours too, I do. And I've got a lot of friends that work. A lot. I worked 8 years, so I know everybody at your company. But there's some out there that are a train wreck. And other hotels will take advantage when they're kind of in disarray or turnover. Turnover is the worst thing. If there's one one bit of advice that I can give you, the worst thing you can do in this industry is to job hop. All of a sudden, because people will go out there. One, there's so much opportunity, but the pool is limited at the same time, especially here, it is.
And that's what we're trying to
But if
build.
somebody, yeah, no, absolutely, there's opportunity for all of you in this industry, there is. Not to just move from hotel to hotel to hotel. You know, somebody may flash another $1 or $2 or whatever, $5,000 salary. Sometimes I'll get you get a resume and it's like, man, this person's been to 10 hotels in 10 years, there's no stability. Why am I even gonna look at that or interview, have them come, when all they do is they jump around, move from hotel to hotel. 6 years is great, that's awesome. And the reason I left Heritage is, because I've stayed at places a long time, is Fonda people don't leave. Our turnover is one of the lowest you'll ever hear of. In our industry, I just read an article, that the average annual turnover in the hotel business is 63%. That means 63% of your staff is turning over every year. Detrimental. It's cost us so much money in recruiting and in training, and then also lost business. Our turnover last year was about 18%, which is unheard of. And those of you that know or know Fonda, we are kind of the epitome of a model that if you take really, really good care of your people, everything else takes care of itself. Which we do. Our employees are very well taken care of because everybody gets the same benefits. It doesn't matter if you're a dishwasher or the GM. Everybody gets the same health, medical. Everyone gets profit sharing. Last year we profit shared about $500,000. All employees, every employee shares in that. We have matching 401k, so whatever you put in, we match up to 55%. A safe harbor account, 3% of your salary goes into a safe harbor in case something disaster happens and you need money. So people don't leave, and that's why too. I mean, of course, we're 93 years old. Fonda goes back to 1922 is when I first opened. In fact, I do a whole history presentation. I have a PowerPoint slide on Fonda, the history here. Fred Harvey, a lot of Fred Harvey, Mary Coulter, John Gummy. If you ever want in the future history, because Fred Harvey that's a whole other part of history. He really.
Harvey Girls.
The Harvey Girls.
Yes.
We were just talking about.
Fred Harvey, though, and I'm not going to get into that.
It's a great movie.
He-
If you ever see an old movie, it's with Judy Garland, and it's called The Harvey Girls.
Yes.
And it's a marvelous movie, and one of my neighbors here in Santa Fe, she and her twin sister, who are both in their late 80s now, we're Harvey Girls.
Yeah. The Harvey Company started in 1876 and pioneered our industry, created the first brand of fine dining and the first brand of lodging was the Fred Harvey Company, and then the rest was history from there until things started changing. But that's why it's kind of nice to know about where our history comes from with hotels and restaurants and things. But Fred Harvey really is the one who created it. Yes.
My father actually did, in 1999, the stonework in La Fonda, the top floor, all the stonework.
Up in the terrace, you mean up in the
Like
lots
the pool area and everything?
Yes, yeah, because that section was built in 1998, which is it's beautiful. The hot tub area and that.
Yeah.
And I hear that a lot. People say there's so many stories because when you're 93 years old, I mean, in this community, a lot of stories over the years. But don't job hop. Let other managers or departments know if there's an interest that how long have you been at Lodge?
A year and a half.
Is there other areas that you're thinking about or you might be interested in? Or?
So I tried for sales, but
Okay.
they overlooked me because of my age.
Well,
So that's
it's all right.
what's
Just
gonna
give it, but
happen.
don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't. That's
I
okay.
mean, I tried. It's
No.
just that I kind of knew at 17.
That's okay. Don't ever stop. Don't ever give
Yeah.
up. Still something, especially if an administrative position comes. That is the perfect way to get your foot in. I think it is on the sales and catering side. But don't give up. Keep letting people know if something comes up that I'm really interested in that, because there's so many opportunities in our industry. There's so many different departments, different people's skill set that they can do. I know we have 260 employees at the Fonda. That's a lot. It's a lot for 180 rooms, 180 keys, but it's a big operation. A lot of food and beverage. La Plazuela it's a crazy busy machine. It's 100 seats. We'll do on a busy day, like in August, like last Saturday, I think we did 900 covers. Just in
Turned
that
the roof
restaurant.
9 times. Wow.
just in that breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We did 1,900 covers last Saturday between La Fiesta, La Plazuela, and the Bell Tower.
Oh my God.
It's just a crazy busy machine, but because it's just so historic and people have been going there for so long.
It's also your staff too. The Bell Tower,
Gabe's a great, do you know Gabe what? Oh,
Gabe's
Gabe
been
worked
one of
over at
my-
Hotel Santa
But he's
Fe.
been one of my good friends since elementary.
He's another one that has moved up.
Yeah.
Gabe's, he's wonderful.
He's great.
We are, we've got incredible people at La Fonda, and that's what makes any hotel. You could have a beautiful hotel and lousy service and you're not gonna do well. You could have, a mediocre property, and if it's got great service, you're gonna do well. That's just the way it is.
But it's a trickle effect as well. It's gotta start from the top and
It
trickle
has
down.
to.
Because if it starts from the top and it affects everybody on the way down,
Yeah.
the last people that it hits in turn puts it to the guest.
Right.
And the guest feels that experience that we're experiencing from the management.
Yeah.
There's somebody who introduced a different concept through that, the pyramid turned upside down, where the top management is applying pressure, like a plumbing, like where that pressure is gonna
Yeah.
be pushed throughout all the stuff instead of it trickling and barely maybe getting down to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
But where that pressure is hitting every single one and then it becomes
Yeah.
explosive even from your line workers. I thought it was an
We-
interesting way of looking at it.
We have a program, because we're constantly trying to elevate our customer service, constant. After our renovation in 2013, we did a major room renovation. In fact, it wasn't a typical where you go in, take everything out, those of you that have been in hotels. Every wall came out except the exterior and interior in every corridor. I mean, literally working around historical floors, historical ceilings, things that from the 20s. And La Fonda is made out of penitentiary tiles, not adobe. Pen tile was made in the state penitentiary here by inmates in the early 1900s. It's big red blocks that were baked in kilns. Even the inside walls, imagine them like this, your inside walls. So they all came out. We spent over $20 million on 160 rooms. That's horrible. But it's a commitment for that hotel to be around another 100 years. And then from there, we got our 4 diamond status. Now all of a sudden, we're attracting a new market, a new demographic. They're paying more, and their expectation levels are much higher. So we're constantly having to reinvent ourselves to provide better customer service. But on TripAdvisor, and those of you that are familiar with TripAdvisor, the whole world can go on and post things. Most of the time they're good. Sometimes people are just whacked. And they are. And those of you know, they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are. But it's really, we really work hard on that. And out of 60 hotels, right now we're number 5. We go back and forth between 4 and 5. You guys are ranked real high too. 2. Drury's number 3, and it's not because Drury's just doing this amazing job. They only have 50 employees for 180 keys. It's the way the algorithm works and how many people go on and put on TripAdvisor. Eventually they'll probably move up the ladder, but I'm sure you guys do the same thing.
We're battling with jury right now.
Are you?
We jump back and forth.
Don't worry.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're not worried.
You'll win that battle. You will.
But I
you guys
think
are
where
saying,
we get really high, I mean, like, our property needs little remodeling, vamping, but where we really have gotten up there is our guest service.
Yeah, that's
They
it.
always
It's
talk
it's
about-
it. That is the number one success for any hotel, is their level of guest service, their interaction with the guest. And I think I'm going to assume in on the Alamedas like us, what makes it so special is we have this unique bond and relationship with our guests because they're long-term, they've been coming back a lot, both on the group side and the transient side. And I'm sure that you guys are the same. You have this very intimate bond and relationship with your clients, which they know. It's nice when they come back and they know who they are, you know them. And that's what makes it unique. It's not just another person coming to a hotel. But TripAdvisor that is really it. That's the number one, because people look at it so much, way to be successful is really to just focus on customer service and encourage people. We hand out cards, say, if all of a sudden if we hear someone say, oh, this is a great experience, great. Just give it could you post it on TripAdvisor? I mean, that, exactly. Same thing, those guys do a great job on TripAdvisor. You guys are ranked, is it 10?
Somewhere around there.
Around 10, yeah. You know all the other 4 diamond hotels? Loreto, La Posada, El Dorado, they're 23 to 29.
Who's number 1 in town?
And of the 5 great
That's,
I'll-
I
I'll
mean, that's
tune
about
in.
as high end as it gets here. Those rooms start at 500 a night and go up.
And
from
go
there.
up, yeah.
And they have, I think, what, 25 rooms?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole different,
It's an inn,
Yeah.
it's not a hotel.
yeah, it's a whole different, how many rooms do you guys have?
72.
I need, you know, and I need, because it's been a long time. In fact, I walked at lunch and I was walking by. God, your grounds are just beautiful. But I do, I'm gonna stop by sometime and I need to get a tour again. But you guys run, both of you guys do, you guys run great properties.
Can I ask you a question? Is
Yes.
the Inn of the Five Graces, is it part of the Chateau Andrelais
Yes,
group?
Yes,
Okay,
Does
that I
this
did
help
not know.
put them
yes.
up?
internationally, yeah.
yeah, internationally, absolutely.
And I only know because I work for one in California. Yeah, it's a whole different tier of expectation,
Right.
for sure.
Now, most of us, where we're limited on opportunity, is this one hotel. It's one Hotel Santa Fe. I think it's all, you guys own, right? It's just, there's no other hotels yet.
No, we're
In the Alameda, same, La Fonda, same, there's no other. Now, she's got 4 hotels up here. She got Hotel Chimayo, Hotel St. Francis, El Dorado, and Lodge. So she's got a lot of opportunity. But once again, communicate, let people know, because you have
Yeah.
all types of different great hotels in one market. El Dorado being the big, that is the anchor hotel, especially for citywides. Critical, because citywide conventions are, here I think it's defined as anything that's 300 peak rooms or more that use a convention center. But they're very important to create a base. You got to have group, even for you, even though you may not do any group. When there's a citywide in, she feels a compression, and all of a sudden they'll know they can maybe increase their rates, drive more revenue, because if Fonda, El Dorado, Loretto, La Posada have a big group base, people can't get rooms, then it pushes that compression out to other hotels. They push it up to the Lodge. Of course, you guys do, I'm sure, so much repeat, but I'm sure you feel the positive benefits when there's a citywide. Even though they may not do any rooms for it, they're gonna benefit from the compression from the market.
Well, you're talking about that market for the smaller groups, that's what we're really honing in on.
Yeah.
I'm the chef and F&B manager playing multiple roles of all of F&B, but,
How long have you been there?
about to hit 3 years. Yeah, so,
I'm gonna come over for lunch one day, maybe
we
next
don't
week.
do lunches, cause
Dinner?
breakfast, dinner, yes, every day, yeah. But, it's, that's where I really learned to customize and really hone in on the customization. I don't have a
Right.
banquet manual.
No.
I'm
But she can be
person.
creative and create what she
Yes,
wants. That's the nice
exactly.
thing. You're all at Alameda, right?
Yeah.
No, it is. It's a
It's
great
a volume
club.
channel, just.
Yeah. And you have a great GM. You do. She's very involved in the industry, that's another thing, is stay involved with the industry. There's all types of different organizations out there, like I'm part of the New Mexico Hospitality Association. I go to the Santa Fe Lodgers, which that's where I see Christina, and that's where I see Corey. There's other types of networking events. There's a lot of different industry functions going on. But it's in our industry, it's who you know. It's those relationships with people. That's really it. It's many relationships. Get involved with different nonprofits, with different, because you meet people. You meet people that care, and they may have some other opportunity for you. You never know. Or they may have business for you. You never know. There's just all types of. It's a great. I can't say enough about this industry because, and that's why I've never done it anywhere else, because I love New Mexico. Look what we get to sell. It's an incredible place. There's so much history, culture, the best 4-season climate anywhere in the country, phenomenal outdoor, year-round recreation. In fact, I'm going to fly fishing up to the Pecos this weekend. That's my big hobby. The food, the people, the 5th largest state land-wise, barely 2 million people in the whole state. You can get out and enjoy and not have to deal with millions of people. But it's all relationships. Like Catherine and I, we may not have seen each other for 5 years, but all of a sudden caught back up with her now that she's here. And these relationships, both with our peers, with each other, but with our guests that come in as well. It's a very fun, rewarding business. How many people you've met from all over the world, Christopher? It's great. It's just a very, very fun, very rewarding business because it's people business. Where are you at? Are you at a hotel?
No,
She's
You
in
want
Santa
me?
Fe
Yes.
High.
Oh, you're at Santa Fe High, okay, good.
no,
No.
I'm at the academy.
At Academy,
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
sorry, wrong school.
I think I have, one of my sales manager's sons may go there. Last name is Cintrone, does that sound familiar? Alex, I think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think, okay. There's like 2 degrees of separation in New Mexico. Literally. You can go anywhere and we can have a conversation, and, you know, no gay, yeah. I mean, literally, it doesn't matter whether you're in this industry or not. There's such a small, big place. So, and that's why you never burn a bridge either here. Boy, that's the worst thing you can do, is burn bridges, because you never know. You never know what opportunities may come again.
Or who knows who.
But it seems like you're, especially if you're here in high school, you're very interested in this business.
Yes.
Are you from here? You've been all your life in
Born and raised.
Native.
Yeah, no, it's a great place. Any other questions?
What did SMER stand for again?
Social,
Social, military.
military, so military reunions, other types of things, social groups, educational groups. Education is one of our biggest market segments, especially like from the association side. Educational groups are big because they can come, especially like Albuquerque more so, and get a great hotels and a good price value. Education is real big. Religious, a lot of religious groups out there. Albuquerque's another great market for religious. Not so much Santa Fe because they're looking for a better deal. They can get that in Albuquerque, they can't get it here. July and August, we're crazy busy up here. July and August, Albuquerque's slow. That's 2 of their quieter months. Very, very different. And then fraternal. So fraternal could be different types of fraternal groups, which could be
The Lions.
Elks, Lions, National,
Eagles.
fraternity of whatever. It's just social groups, fraternal groups, that's what that stands for. But there's a lot of it, and it's a good market segment for New Mexico, I think a lot of places. But I would say association and SMERF are probably our 2 biggest segments, and then government too, but once again, you gotta be real careful with government. All right, we're almost out of time, any other questions?
Now, do you, within your division of your folks and your geographies, do you have someone that specializes in Native Americans?
No.
That was
would be where-
one of my markets
Right.
at Buffalo
Now,
Thunder.
Buffalo Thunder, now, Tina Wakey says that market there now.
The Navajos were my biggest.
Now, when I was at Heritage, I would go to Window Rock all the time, because the Navajo Nation, the largest tribe there is, does a lot of meetings, I think Navajo Nation has maybe 200,000 tribal members. The average,
They're the biggest in.
yeah, the average tribe, like in New Mexico, there's 19 pueblos and 22 tribes, maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people. That's it. They're not a lot. They're but now that they have casinos and hotels, and that's a whole nother thing, because that's for another topic. They're good and tough because it's not a level playing field. For us that have to pay all the different taxes that we pay, and the income state taxes, the gross receipts, the lodgers, all that, they don't pay any of that. They'll collect it, but it doesn't go into our coffers because they're a sovereign nation. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to play by the same rules as we do. So it can be a little challenging at times.
I worked for a Pueblo, and as manager, I found it very difficult.
A lot of turnover.
Yeah, a ton of turnover, just what they paid in labor, keeping quality people.
Yeah.
There's no health department or
They
fire
abide-
inspections.
They don't have to play by any of
Yeah.
our rules, literally.
I found
None.
it difficult to manage and
It
to
is.
find controls
It
at
is.
Pueblo,
Or
so,
people showing up or not showing up, or.
yeah.
It's a different set of challenges, it is. Now, they do provide jobs, economic development from that standpoint, bringing people in. But
Well,
for
you
those
know,
of
it's
us,
like, are you hiring locally? They would outsource.
and they can
all
offer
the
lower
labor
rates
and
because
the-
they can offer lower room rates, lower food and beverage rates, because their number one mission is to get people in to gamble, because that's where they're at.
That's like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
The hotels are just amenities.
But they're paying taxes.
Yeah, that's true.
The Las Vegas CBB has, I think, a budget, last time I heard, of over 125 million.
Yeah, it's way bigger than the whole United States.
All right, we're out of time. I didn't mean to take that.
That's okay, that's okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, folks? This is great discussion. I like
Yes.
it. This is how you learn.
What's that?
This one's a really weird one, so I
No, no, no. Okay. And I will, anybody after has anything, or I'll leave some of my cards.
Did everybody sign the